Vegas, St. Louis, 13-14 on the rotation. We've got St. Louis -115 to -120, home favorite, total 5.5, pretty much across the board. If you watched any of the last two St. Louis Blues games, you'll know that they were as lucky as all get out to win both of them. Carolina 3-2, didn't play great, but snuck out the win, got a third period goal, won it. New Jersey game with Keith Kinkaid, mind you, not Corey Schneider, Keith Kinkaid in net, down 3-2 in the third period of that New Jersey team. They tie it late, and they end up winning in a shootout 4-3 at home. Still, things not completely right here, in my opinion, with this St. Louis team. No 2 wins in a row after a little bit of a rough stretch, but not convinced that things are really fully back on the tracks. Too fortuitous, if you ask me, wins in a row. And you know what I'm like with teams on momentum. I don't look to go against them. This is a myth that Vegas can't win on the road. Total, complete myth. That they can't win on the road. Look what they've done recently on the road. They've beaten teams like Dallas, like Nashville, like LA, like Anaheim. They can win on the road. They can beat quality competition on the road. St. Louis is quality competition. It's a good hockey team, but I think offensively still they're struggling to find identity without Jaden Schwartz. I've talked about that ad nauseum. Carter Hutton has gotten a couple more starts recently, but is he a guy you're going to be able to go to war with in net long term? I don't know, but he's been getting more of the duty recently for the St. Louis Blues in net. Fleury's been great. I mean, Fleury, again, multiple shutouts now recently for him in between the pipes for the Golden Knights. I know on the road everybody's a little bit more hesitant to back them. Not this guy. We'll be looking at Vegas here, +100, great price. Keep that momentum going until I see a sign this team loses a hockey game. What have they won? 9 in a row coming into this one. I'm not getting off that train whatsoever, even though they are on the road. So we'll look at Vegas on that one. Let's see. Dana's also involved in the Vegas-St. Louis game. Go ahead, Dana. What are you looking at here tonight?
Well, I think you got a lot of different factors that's going to factor into this play tonight. First of all, we're getting a good number on my play. I like the over in this game at 5.5. We're getting $1.04 at Pinnacle, of course, shop for the different lines. And I think you have a lot of things that are going into this. Okay, first of all, let's not overlook the Jonathan Marchessault deal yesterday. That's a good get for the Golden Knights. $5 million a year. That's good for them because this guy is going to be another 30 goal guy. This will be his second goal in the game, second year in a row that he'll score 30 goals. And we talked about this team all year having little chips on their shoulders and having little motivating cookies to chase all year. I don't even know if that what that means, but anyway, so with Marchessault signing this deal, that really sends a message to the rest of the team that, hey, look, guys, there's a bunch of UFAs on this team. There's a bunch of RFAs on this team. This should, especially, I would expect a inspired effort out of David Perron tonight because not only is Perron going back to his old team, but you would figure Perron is probably the next guy that they're going to look to make a decision on a deal. And I know William Carlson is also a free agent, but he's a little bit different, being a UFA versus an RFA. So I think that which Carlson is an RFA. So I think David Perron is a guy that probably is going to be looked at next. But what signing a contract does, it kind of gives a kick to everybody else that is kind of taken from all these different motivating factors all season to say, look, we're kind of the outcast. Well, now they see guys getting paid, and now that's another little inspirational tool that they use. To me, this is the biggest hurdle for the Golden Knights, and the reason why is. And why do I think this is going to be a defining moment in their season? I thought Game 1 against St. Louis was a defining moment. They put a thing in a newspaper here about all the defining moments and the big games for the Golden Knights this season, and I thought St. Louis should have been on the list, but it wasn't because we were too busy taking the obvious wins over Tampa Bay. This is in their building. This is a revenge spot. And this is not just any team. In many ways, I believe that this team is built to have a lot of success in the playoffs if they go in healthy. So I think this is a huge spot for Vegas. And I think if Vegas wins this game, then you can legitimately talk about them as a team that should be there when the Stanley Cup Finals roll around. If you do remember Game One, this was not only a game that Vegas won, but this is also a game that Vegas stole. St. Louis completely dominated this game. They completely dominated this game on shots on goal. They tied it up late in the game to force this into overtime. And this was also the game that Malcolm Subban got hurt. And we were introduced to Oscar Dansk, who came in and basically stole a victory in overtime after St. Louis scored after Vegas scored just 32, 31 seconds into overtime. All those things kind of factor into the St. Louis having a motivating getting on the ice tonight and being motivating. I really think that you are going to see a high scoring game tonight. I think both teams are going to come out flying up and down the ice. They both have a lot to play for. They both, I don't always want to overuse the word motivated, but I do think that, motivated shouldn't be the base of your handicapping, but it certainly is a component of handicapping because why is it important? Well, motivation over an 82 game season, sometimes you have it and sometimes you don't. And I talk about it a lot, and I know Andrew talks about it a lot, that when some days you walk into somebody else's rink and you're not motivated. And I try to find teams that have a reason to be motivated or a reason, something to prove, something they're really focused on going into a game. I don't always think that people are focused going into a midweek game in Florida. So, and that's why you have to really, I like to use that word, but I don't use it like, hey, look, I'm betting a team because they're motivated, but it is a component for sure. Okay, so anyway, we talk about the Knights, and I just go off. Bottom line for this is Vegas, St. Louis over 5.5 minus $1.04. And I think that when a team that has 30-goal scorers on or 30-point scorers on it right now, they have 5 guys that are in double digits in goals, and they haven't scored fewer than 3 goals since December 14th. This is a definite heavyweight bout, and I think the scoring is going to be up tonight.
All right, over 5.5 going against a 9-1 under trend recently for the St. Louis Blues. But you got Vegas certainly offensively capable. St. Louis, I'm a little less sure, but Vegas certainly can. And Jonathan Marchessault, that was the big news, as Dana mentioned, 6-year, $30 million contract extension with the Golden Knights. And why shouldn't he be extended? I mean, we're talking about the leading point getter on the team right now. Why not? Why not re-sign the guy? And I'm sure he's happy to be back. I'm sure George McPhee, if you're the GM of that team, you're happy to have him back. You're happy to have him signed. You're going to have to start making some decisions. I mean, some of these guys like a Marchessault, you were maybe thinking, hey, there's going to be 1 year, we'll flip him at the deadline because we're going to be a bad bottom feeder expansion team this year. Well, all of a sudden, your plans have been altered a little bit. You're all of a sudden having this magical season. You've got expectations now. You think you might be able to do damage in the playoffs if you get in. So now you're starting to think maybe I've got to try to sign not everybody, and you're not going to be able to sign all these pending free agents if you're McPhee, but at least a couple of them. He targeted Marchessault. Why not when he's leading the team with 37 points this season? So good decision there. I'm glad to see him back. He's clearly a guy that likes Vegas. I haven't heard anybody, to be honest, on the Golden Knights team say they haven't enjoyed playing for this team, playing for this city. So that tells you all you need to know about the camaraderie this team has enjoyed. St. Louis, though, the one issue for them, their power play has been horrendous, 0 for 15 last 6 games, while the Vegas PK has been fantastic as of late. They've killed off every penalty the last 5. So that's a matchup edge, I think, for Vegas. Dana on the over. I'm on the Vegas side. Like I say, I know revenge and all that for St. Louis, but I don't know. Something's not right with St. Louis. I mean, we know they'll be up for this game. Obviously, that's you got your number 1 team in the Western Conference coming into your building. Certainly, that's going to get the fires of intensity stoked for the St. Louis Blues going into this game. But, there's still been a very erratic hockey club their last 10 games, just 4-6 over their last 10 games. And what were the wins? Vancouver, which is nothing to write home about. Carolina, which fortunate to get it. New Jersey with Kincaid in net, not Schneider, Kincaid in net. Nothing to write home about these last 3 wins here for the St. Louis Blues. They're facing a team that I'm firmly believing now is for real. So I'm on Vegas there, and Dana likes the over.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to our channel. Now, we've put a lot of work into producing all these free videos, so please help us out and keep all our content free for you forever by simply liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. Now, not to mention, a visit to our industry-leading website will warm the hearts of all our SBR employees, especially myself. Now, the links are over there to the left, so do check those out. Thanks for watching.